Landlocked nations. Every country has them, excluding North America? Possibly. Some more than others. The technical definition, and the definition that will be used in question throughout this video, is from the Dictionary of Cambridge University, surrounded by the land of other countries and having no coast. However, what about obvious countries such as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, who shares a nearly 25-mile-long border with the Atlantic Ocean directly? Or what about Bosnia, who is mostly cut off from the ocean by Croatia but shares a 12-mile-long coast with the Adriatic Sea? Or what about Kazakhstan and other Central Asian nations who share a border with the Caspian Sea? What really makes a nation landlocked? Although Bosnia does in fact have a coast and a beach location along this coast, it doesn't have a navy nor any ports on said beach. The only town on this coastline is known as Neum, which is in fact a coastal town, but it is not suitable to be home to a port due to the difficult terrain separating it from the rest of Bosnia. Thus, Bosnia does not technically have access to the Adriatic Sea and can be considered a nation that is landlocked despite having clear access to the sea. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is the second largest nation in the continent of Africa, and yet it is still considered to be a landlocked nation. It gets even more confusing than this, however, because the Democratic Republic of the Congo has access to the Atlantic Ocean directly, and even holds a port on that beach. So why is this even a debate? The DRC has access to the sea, the end, right? Well, not quite. The DRC is massive, and though it has a major port, getting to said port is rather difficult due to the poor infrastructure and lack of roads and bridges in most parts of the nation. And while most resources are in the east, it is quite difficult to get these resources to the sea, and then there's geography, where reaching the coastline is significantly more dangerous and even tedious than to use the Republic of the Congo anyways. So legally, and according to the United Nations, the Democratic Republic of the Congo is landlocked and has no access to the sea in any meaningful way. Iraq is an Arab state located in the heart of the Middle East, a location renowned for its instability, unfortunately. So then, what is the problem with Iraq and its landlocked problem? Iraq shares a 39-mile-long border with the northern half of the Persian Gulf, and has access to the sea. Iraq also owns a single port along this gulf, and this is where they get their resources. Iraq even has a navy for such restricted access to the sea. So what's the problem? Well, it's rather simple. Marshland. It's been notoriously difficult in history to traverse swamps without utterly destroying them, and destroying them would result in massive destruction, especially for Iraq, as most of their land is desert and is prone to flooding, which could be devastating for Iraq and its economy, and transportation of goods. So traversing the mangroves of Iraq it is, except it isn't as simple either, as the Shatt al-Arab waterway is the only way to easily access the Persian Gulf, but for Iraq, the river often narrows to impossible degrees, rendering any easy Iraqi access to the Persian Gulf nearly impossible. So even though Iraq has direct access to the sea and an entire naval department to manage their maritime border, they remain landlocked according to the United Nations. Finally, there's the question about Central America and the Stand nations. They have access to the Caspian Sea, yes? Thanks to the Volga-Don Canal, the Caspian Sea is technically connected to the Black Sea, and thus the Mediterranean Sea, and thus the Atlantic Ocean. Well, despite Kazakhstan having an entire navy, no Central Asian nations have the ability to become non-landlocked, even though they have access to the Atlantic Ocean technically. So this problem is sort of irrelevant to Central Asia, but hopefully clears up the issue. So being a landlocked nation by definition really doesn't mean anything, does it? We've reviewed several nations who have access to the sea, and some even have entire navies. So then the real question is, what is the legal definition of landlocked? What criteria must be fully met then? However, that should wrap this video up. I hope this cleared up some questions, and maybe even raised new questions to be asked later. Also be sure to comment any critique on this video if you see fit, such as pointing out a mistake I made of adding to the discussion. Bye for now.